Well, good evening and welcome to the Nothing Fancy Spiritualist Church. And this evening we're in conversation. We're in conversation with Daniela Orflorio, a fascinating character, Reiki healer, medium, and a teacher as well. So we're looking forward to a very, very interesting discussion this evening. Now, if you would like to ask questions of Daniela as we work, then please make sure that you go to StreamYard, the button above the screen marked streamyard.com/Facebook. Press that button so that we're actually calling you by your name rather than actually calling you a Facebook user. So we need to know whom we're speaking to. If you would like to share this broadcast, then go to the click link button and take it to wherever you want. And finally, if you're watching on catch up, we hope you enjoy this discussion and that you learn more about the wonderful world of spiritualism. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Daniela. Sorry, Daniela, I'm coughing. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Ben. I'm very good, thank you, and thank you for having me tonight. It's such an honor.
That's okay. Welcome to our channel for the first time ever. And we're very, very excited to have an Italian lady with us this evening. It's cheered us up no end. We get lots of miserable men, so don't be miserable. So Daniela, we'll just say hello to a few people. We've got many people beginning to join us now. And I'm just going to say, first of all, Donna M. O'Connor. She's from Liverpool, Donna. So good evening, Donna, and welcome. And Claire Colbeck. Hello, Claire. Good evening and welcome. And Claire, I don't know where you're from. Perhaps you just tell me. And she's saying good evening to you as well, Daniela.
Good evening, Claire.
But she's put it right. There you are. And she's put it right again. So that's Claire Colbeck. Good, and Donna saying hello, and a Facebook user. Good evening, Ben. I'm going to try my best with the Facebook users for the moment, but normally we get so busy that I have difficulty with it. Mark Hay, good evening, Mark. Christine Marie, good evening. Julie Hurst, and Facebook user, that's Mark again, and again, and they're all saying hello to each other. They're like one big family. This
it's beautiful.
Okay, and more people. We'll say hello to more people as they come on with us this evening. So Daniela, you come from Italy, but you live in Reigate. What happened?
Well, I actually was at uni, and I did the Erasmus projects at the age of 22. So I went from my University of Urbino to Hull University for a whole year, and basically ended up never leaving because I just loved it so much. I had friends already in London, and so this year is actually 30 years since I've moved over.
My gosh.
I never planned to come and stay, but hey ho, that's what happened.
These things happen, eh?
Yeah.
Hello to Jan Langford. And obviously, you married and had a family here as well, did you? Or?
I was married, yes, and I have a child, a son, who is 21.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've it's lots of friends, lovely friends, new friends.
Well, I hope we will be your new friends as well. Now,
so.
Tell us then, you obviously are a medium, a Reiki master, and run lots of different courses and things in your area. Tell us what happened to actually encourage this growth in you.
Well, it's been a growth that's been going on for, I mean, since I was a child, really, but I wasn't quite sure what that was about. I could see spirit since I was little, and I had a particular experience, which was a near death experience at the age of 8, and I was undergoing an operation, and suddenly I found myself floating up in the air. I could hear what the doctors were saying. I could see what was going on. I kind of flew onto the next room and came back, and I went like, I wasn't quite sure. I was only 8. I had no concept and no idea of what that could have been. And when I came back, I told my family, and they said, "Oh, that's just the anesthetics," and that's what it was, you know. But since that moment, actually, I started searching and looking through books, because I was a bit of a bookworm at the time, about anything to do with ghosts and spirits. And I was reading even fiction, because at that point I was going, you know, across the board. And I got also attracted by a series of books which were looking at the otherly world, you know, whatever that was. So I ended up, you know, reading about what now I understand being the Pleiadians, for instance, you know, like anything, because to me, that I couldn't make sense of that. But the truth is that the next major and significant experience I had was at the age of 13, when in the middle of the night, a friend that had a car accident in the night before, I didn't know she had died, and she came and visit. And the vision and the light and the power of it was just so overwhelming that when I attended her funeral, I just passed out, because I just didn't know. You know, I begged her, actually, she was one of my best friends. I begged her to come back and say hi to me again at some point in the future. And that, I mean, to date, that memory is still very strong, you know, how spirit, I can perceive spirit. And throughout later on, again, I was always very curious, but it wasn't until I turned about 38 or so that it was through someone's reading saying that I was meant to become a holistic therapist and more, you know, started working with crystals. Um, so before I know, I signed up for a 3 years course at a college, and my qualification has been recognized by the FHT and Federation of Holistic Therapies. And and that's where I learned so much. I mean, it was a weekend every 6 weeks of practice. So in the first year, we learned all about crystal and its practical application, but then we developed it further. So we looked at all sorts of things, and throughout those start and learning, if you like, we were taken through personal growth. So we had to keep a diary, and we had to learn how and observe, more than anything, like a third person almost, what crystals, how crystals helped us to grow and work with us with our shadow self. So learning, you know, because crystals are amazing in terms of, you know, generally speaking, people know crystals more like, to relax, and things like that. But effectively speaking, the crystals can take you through an amazing life journey, actually, when done regularly, it is. And so recently, more recently, so I've been practicing after the crystals. In fact, I want to go in order. After the crystals, I went into Reiki. I did Reiki 1, and after about just over 2 years, I felt it was time to do Reiki 2. And within 9 months, my ascension and my development, if you like, spiritual development, it took me to actually go into Reiki Master, which sometimes takes many years to people to get. But it's all like personal, so to do with personal. So what happened was that throughout this time, I have developed, the connection to spirit. And meanwhile, in the past 14 years, I've been also at the. Ben, I can't see you anymore. Are you still there?
I'm still here. I was
Oh,
just
I'm still there. Sorry.
giving you the full screen.
I
But
wasn't sure.
I'll stay
Yeah.
with you. Don't worry.
No, it's okay. You can. I wasn't sure what was going on. So what happened was I went to the College of Psychic Studies in London,
Yeah.
and I started training there for transmediumship, and I did some psychic courses as well. And then it's been all development, lots and lots of courses, lots of practice. But then on the sideline, coming a bit closer to our days, because I am a qualified secondary school teacher, I have come to realize how much the young people are actually interested in crystals and how tuned in they are in spirits. I mean, some of them were talking to me about having seen spirits, particularly in the local boarding school. We've got a school here in Reigate, and teenagers were talking to me about that. And the story was true, actually, because then I've spoken to some others as well, and there are, the place is known for having for having spirits still moving about from the old Victorian age. So I just decided, because I always feel I want to be of service. After all, I want to help people to understand more about the spirit and about us being part of the light, really. I want to enable the young people as well to develop, because if you think that one day they will become new mediums, okay, I want to be able to enable them. I want to train them. So I've created this. The name of what I do goes under New Crystal Generation. So I've got a website which is New Crystal Generation. And in there, I just address in particular the fact that I'm open to run workshops, which I do run workshops for both adults, but also the teens and the younger ones as well. And I think as the society starts opening up a bit to, particularly in the UK, I understand that in the US, this is still a bit still not quite as developed as it is over here in the UK. I want everyone, effectively speaking, to get in touch with the higher self, the spirit, and more than anything, to help them be guided by spirits. And then eventually I put out there that, to the universe, that I really wanted to join a development circle, because it was a very long time coming. since I wanted to do that. And the moment I started was just like just developing so quickly and so well with spirit. I just needed to have some guidance to know how to do it. And then spirit has been there ever since, because I am aware, because I just know by experience that we are spirit. Because of that near-death experience I had at the age of 8, I know in my core that we are spirit, and that our body is a carrier, effectively speaking, of our soul, not vice versa. Yeah. So, and so I just absolutely love, and it's part of me, all of this, like even this afternoon I've been treating clients, and some of them, it was absolutely the first time having a crystal treatment, having a Reiki treatment, and that was an absolute honor, to be able, and they were mesmerized to the fact that they could feel energy. And that is the whole point of New Crystal Generation, is the new point of enabling people to learn about themselves, and above all, how to tune into their intuition, their third eye, and for that also to help them grow into spiritualism, because that's part of what I do as well.
I was watching this morning on Facebook. Natalie Rogers is saying good evening to us, and Samantha Jane as well. And Mark Hay said a lovely insight and story, Daniela. So we're beginning to talk. So if anybody wants to ask Daniela questions as you go, then please do. I was watching Ray Robinson, that the Reverend Ray Robinson.
Oh, yes, I met him. Yeah.
He did a little talk this morning using Silver Birch, who was talking about the spirit, and that spirit all around us, and very much part of our lives. I know myself, when I'm giving messages, I give people lots of detail about their lives as they are today. So you talked about that, and do you feel it's a privilege that when we're able to connect with them, does it come as a privilege to you, or?
Absolutely. It's such a privilege, because like I'm able to actually be the mean for with which they can express, they can send messages to us, which are still inhabiting the world. We are on Earth. We live in 3D, as I call it. And I'm able to, and they want to come back and express, like their love to their loved ones, and particularly when it comes to the evidential mediumship, you can give, people the proof, the living proof that, it is true that we move to the other side, and we do transition. And it does come, when I hear the feedback, of people I read to, and that I read for, and they are just sometimes speechless, particularly again if it's the first time that they get messages. It's unbelievable. Like I'm advertising openly myself in town, and a lot of people, that because I not 100%, but 1,000%, I believe and trust in spirit and in God as well. And so I go out there and I say, hey, this is what I do. Come and see me at the Yogananda Center. And because of this, a lot of newbies, a lot of people that have never had the exposure to spirit, to healing, they just come along and they just start their road. And I find like I'm just like a road opener for a lot of new people that want to get to know more about spiritualism, about healing, about crystals, and I think that it's amazing, really. Yes, absolutely.
Donna asks, do you think your near-death experience opened up your spiritual journey and mediumship to help others and to serve?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. And we do need sometimes, as I call it, when I read tarot cards as well, when I give messages that way as well, it's like a tower moment. A tower moment is a moment totally unexpected, and but not necessarily a bad experience. In my case, it was a tower moment, trying to finding out about this, and at the same time figuring out that there is a whole new world going on the other side of the veil. You know, um, absolutely, near-death experience has been pivotal. It's been a journey in itself, and it's very important for me, it was important to learn more about my spirituality. It's been amazingly supportive at my emotional level, for my personal growth as a person. It has helped me to look at things from a different perspective. So definitely when you have, and for me it was a near-death experience, but for some other people it could be the loss of a loved one, perhaps. It could be something that is bigger than us and is shaking us to the point that we have to look at this. And we open ourselves up to to get the information that we need to start our journey with spirit.
I was wondering if you are aware of the Essenes. They lived
Oh, I love the Essenes. Yes, indeed.
in Qumran around the time of Christ, and they, of course, make up the Black Sea Scrolls. And they used to talk a lot about the end of times.
Yes.
And I wonder if you feel we're at the end of times now. And the end of times would mean that there's a transition taking place, that is spirit beginning to become more assertive in the world, or will it become more assertive? And the only way they can become assertive is through people like us, isn't it? That are we more necessary than ever at this time? Have you thought about that at all?
I think that yes, I have, because I have worked with the spirits of the Essenes, in particular Martha, who was Jesus Christ, a grandmother, and Mary Magdalene as well. Just like them, when times get really, really difficult, that's when it doesn't matter if there are 1,000 people or 100 people, as long as there is one person that believes, that can make the difference and can start talking to others to express the hope. Because the end of time, what is it? The transformation, what is it? It's simply going through the dark times, holding the hope, and the trust in God and in the spirit.
Today, I've been working with somebody who has cancer, and we were talking about the world as it was, I'm sure we should have been talking about far more serious things, but we were gossiping, and then we got sort of chatting about the world and how it's changing, and all of wars and everything. The way we run the world seems to be rather messed up. And when I don't know if you find it, but when I come in contact with people, or I come go to serve churches, I was doing private readings at a church on Sunday, and I feel that this lockdown, which is what we were talking about today, the lockdown has affected so many people in a bad way. Their social skills have changed. People are afraid to hug like they would have done. People have become introverted, and they begin to talk about what people say. So I find personally in my work, I'm driven to another extreme in a way, which is upliftment, in the sense of spirit wants to shake people up and say, hey, do you know how beautiful you are? Do you know how powerful you are? Do you find that, I wondered?
Yes, absolutely. I think there has been a shift and a transformation, as you were mentioning earlier on, um, during the lockdown. A lot of people have moved their attention from the busy lives to themselves. And they started looking inside themselves, and they started asking themselves, am I really happy with life? You know, and some people have unfortunately experienced the depression. And with that, there is a question of the relationship to spirit. You know, do I believe in that? And if that is true, what is the proof about it? So that I can hope in something more and better. You know, is there anything else? You know, it's like basically when there is depression, it's like walking through a dark tunnel trying to find the light. And it is true that the light can be brought about by other people being around you, but it is a personal journey, and sometimes can be a lonely journey as well. And I find that in spirituality, actually, spirituality is a medicine in itself, because it can bring about joy, happiness, community, support. And being part of a spiritualist church, for instance, is exactly all of this and more. Because on the top of that, we are able to convey messages from spirit, giving us hope, joy. Often messages given by spirit can be very funny as well, you know. And I think that with COVID, a lot of people have been able to actually go through the inner transformation, become more assertive, and say, okay, I'm not happy with this life. I need to move on, and I need to do what I really want to do, because at the end of the day, what spirit does as well, guide us on our life path. And this is how, for instance, I found out about my life path, which is to work with spirit, for instance. And for instance, for me, working with this during lockdown, I worked even more, like many of us, we worked even more with spirit, because we had probably even more time for doing that. But we were also pushed by the uncertainties of the times. We didn't know what we were dealing with, So spirit definitely. Some people, when I was discussing about this period we've just been going through, and the war and everything, and some people believe that we are being pushed, to look for the better in us. A lot of people have been a lot of people have been coming out. I mean, even, I mean, I'm sure in most towns in the UK, but here in Reigate, I mean, there has been a real rally of people trying and host, refugees from Ukraine. How beautiful is that? I mean, just before COVID, we were going about our lives, and on occasion, we would have someone helping someone else struggling without work. And, it was probably be a rare occasion. But now there are like scores of people trying and, get together products to send off to Ukraine. I mean, how amazing is that? And that is because the war has happened or is happening just after the pandemic, where we experienced first-hand death in our families. I've lost my uncle to COVID, for instance, and that was really horrible. It was a horrible experience having, first-hand information about how it all happened inside the hospital and all of that. And I want to share actually something regarding this as well. Although my uncle was based in Milan, I was able to connect to his soul just while, that was my experience, by the way. I perceived him being like in a dark waiting room as a spirit. I didn't know that he basically was in process in those 10 minutes. He had left, or he was leaving his body. And I knew he wasn't well at all, but I talked to him, and he was, he was worried, and he was in the same place that I actually experienced in the near-death experience. And then I could see spirits and family around him, but he couldn't for a little while. And then suddenly the light came along. And for me to be able to experience all of that, I mean, that was a true honor. It was absolutely amazing to see that transition, because it can be so difficult. It's very, very beautiful. I mean, I have on a very, very different occasion, for instance, I was attending the baptism of a child, family friend's child, and the moment when the priest started pouring the water over the head of the child, I saw spirit. I saw a flash of light coming suddenly straight down onto the child, and I was like speechless. I had to contact my teacher, spiritual teacher, and I was just like, this is what this was like. I mean, the child is 12 now, so you can imagine it was 20 years ago. I was at the beginning of my, development, and I'm like, I've seen a light coming straight down from the sky inside the church, and it went straight, and it's like she was receiving the spirit, the life, and being able to witness all of this, I can, I have no problems in just, walk out and just help people to hopefully experience that one day as well, to have their own experience and words of mouth and personal experience, and people start talking to that, and there is an awakening. And this is what's happening. This is what I want to happen with my teaching. I want people to have an awakening, because that's the only way we can actually spread the light, because we are going through quite dark times suddenly between the COVID and the war. So we want to make sure that people are aware that there is more going on than actually life in 3D over here.
Indeed. And it's how we do that. It's how we live, and the examples that we set, and the way we run our services and training and everything. There's a question here from Mark A. And I think it's directed to me, but we'll answer it together. Why have I sensed and felt more being on with you, Ben, and you seeing the same as me at the same time when I've tried so hard so many times in the past? What is the difference now to back then? Well, I think Mark is talking. He came to an open circle where we're training people in an open circle, and one of the things we do with people is say, "Well, tell us exactly what you're seeing." And he could see his wife and his daughter. I said, "Well, to prove it, can you tell me what color dress she's wearing?" And I could see her wearing a beautiful blue dress, and he saw the same. So I think that's what he's referring to. I think it's probably because we're working with spirit. So, in other words, if Daniela and I combined our energies with yours, Mark, it would enhance and strengthen your energy quite considerably. And that's the purpose of open circles, purpose of training courses and everything is that we, through our close association with spirit, we are able to bring the images, to bring the sense and the feeling that comes to you. Would you agree with me, Danielle?
Yeah, totally. So what happens is that when spirit comes through, they have an energetic imprint. So if I can perceive it, then Ben can perceive it as well. There are times when you assist when you take part to assist to a demonstration, you will hear the mediums talking about doing a bridge, which means they both connect. All right, they both connect into the same link, and they actually can pick up either or both the same details, and some can pick up. One of the mediums can pick up different details than the others because we all operate at different vibrational levels, so we can pick up certain details that the other person can't. Having said this, it doesn't mean that one medium is better than the other. We just perceive information differently. But spirit comes across with a definite imprint of the way they want to be seen and remembered. And often also they want to be remembered a certain way because they want to, as mediums, to pass on the message that they loved particular pair of shoes, they loved the particular colored dress, and tiny details. And this is why we can see the same details. I can, when I've run my own development circle on Wednesdays for about 9 months or something, I will. I was able, to connect while two like learners were exercising. I was able to, tap into that and see exactly what they were seeing as well, because it's to do with seeing energy. It's to do with seeing vibrations, colors, shapes. And, as far as I'm concerned, I've got, I can hear, I can feel, I can see, I've got different set of skills and they come in handy every time, so the clairaudience and all of that, I can apply each of the sentience to according to what spirit wants me to pick up, so yeah.
And really, and you get what is it we call clairsentience, which is we get a feeling. So in the case of Mark's wife, who comes in, I get the feeling of he remembers her because of the way her death occurred, and he tends to remember her the bad times. And she comes in, she's like a wild woman, wanting, no, don't remember the bad times. Remember the fun times. Remember the things we did, the things we achieved together. Don't dwell on the last days of my life, because those, I had to go through that to get to where I was going. His wife was really funny, and unfortunately, Mark's got a daughter in spirit as well. And when the two of them come together, all they want to do is tease him. So they must have teased him in life quite a bit.
Exactly.
And it's interesting, Sue Treadwell, who works as part of our outreach program, and Sue was on, and her mother passed recently. And I went to Sue afterwards, after some time, and we had her mother. And Sue, of course, was still sad and whatever. Her mother came in dancing and really funny. I mean, I was just laughing at the way she went. So Spirit want to bring upliftment, don't they? They want to bring their love, and they want to bring
Yes.
their joy
Absolutely.
to us, and not the bad things.
No, never.
It's funny. I was doing a healing demonstration once, and I had a lady sitting in a chair, and I was doing healing, and somebody in the audience started screaming, and I said, and I didn't know, I was too busy working, and she told me afterwards what I was screaming about, wanted other people to see, was I wanted to see the light was coming through the ceiling, coming down into your head, and it was spreading out all around. With her daughter I was healing. So Spirit do wonderful things to show people their presence. Very often when I'm working with people, I'll see lights behind me, and I'll see lights behind the medium. Very often when the mediums are working, I'll see like continuous lights behind them as well.
I see colors as well. I see shapes. It really depends on the type of guides that the mediums work with. But one of the things I've developed is to see auras and to see colors around people, and sometimes in our auric field there may be some tears, there may be some holes, because sometimes we tend, when we undergo a shock or an incident, for instance, we tend to lose some parts of ourselves, which we need then to recuperate later on with work, dedicated work. And sometimes those can be touched, and it goes quite in depth as a subject as well, this one. But so because of I can see and I can work with auras, I can actually see quite clearly, sometimes the spirits that are around people, and it's quite interesting how sometimes they try to manifest in people's lives, and try to help, to send messages, and it's wonderful when we can pass on the message saying, can you please tell, I don't know, my daughter that I was in the kitchen with her. Yes, actually, I had one of my readings recently. There was this man, he had forgotten in the morning to take a tablet, and his auntie had come through. And it was quite funny because it was like, yes, I forgot the tablet this morning. I said, yeah, she was there, and she wants you to really take care of yourself because, you could do better. And it's nice to bring a smile, to people with evidential mediumship, to...
I think the biggest thing that I feel when I start working with Spirit is love. The love that they come in with, and that concern and joy that they want to bring to people. That's what I always feel above all else. Dorothy Devine is saying good evening, and Dorothy unfortunately lost her husband tragically before his time, and left a big gap in her life. But Dorothy knows he's around. Jackie Lidster asks, do you use crystals with your mediumship? And if so, which ones?
Well, Sometimes I would say the default one would be amethyst, but not necessarily just that one. I have thousands of crystals all around. I do love actually having an angelite with me, because that's a bringer of working with angels as well, which I really love. Um, I do use actually crystals to protect myself as well. So it really depends. Normally, I do tend to use even crystal quartz, like the clear ones, because they actually can enhance, the energy. Although, um, like my mediumship skills are there, whether I'm using the crystals or not. But the crystals give that softer energy around me that the the spirits really love, connect to as well. I have been working with. I normally give healing. For instance, I always ask the person whether they want just a Reiki healing, but I just say, if I could use the crystals as well, because they just are a different energy, aren't they? So definitely, I do readings, crystal readings. I have always some very tiny bits of crystals, colored crystals, and I do readings from there, and I don't need anything else, because I work always with spirit and crystals. I do work a lot with them. Yes.
Fiona Rosen, I can get that about remembering sad times, as my twin had a very sad life, and most of my memories are sad ones, and do struggle to remember the fun times. Now I can understand that. Her brother's name, twin brother, was called John, and when I see John, I'm aware of the bad times, but he always shows me the good times. He shows me memories of their childhood. He shows me memories of their relationship, how much it meant to him as a child, because she's quite bossy, Fiona, and she used to boss him around. And so he comes back. Whenever he comes back, he reminds me that she's quite bossy, and he laughs about it. Fiona, remember all the beautiful times you had.
Yes,
Don't,
absolutely.
don't concentrate on those bad times.
Absolutely.
They don't achieve anything, do they? Really?
No.
Yes. What a wonderful feeling when your loved ones come through. Really helps carry on. Thank you, Carol. And it's this is a Facebook user, which I think it's Mark again. It's hard to forget for everyone the last memories, and that's what holds us all back.
Well, it is true, like life is always a challenge, and some people, might have experienced more grief than happiness, but what we need is to live in the moment and appreciate the things that we have at present. And when we think of our loved ones that have passed, maybe just going through the pictures of the good times. We all take pictures when we have good times, and going through the process of watching pictures, for example, that will bring us a smile and will bring us good memories. So perhaps having a small collection of pictures that we can go back to, it's a way to keep the memory live with beautiful memories that we can go back to, every time we feel a bit down, or just like while we go on our day to day, we have the pictures on site, we can just glance and just give a thought and send our love to our, to to the ones that are no longer with us, because they are around us. They know we do that. And surely enough, when you do attend, when we do attend the spiritual demonstration, we get the confirmation that they know what we think, they know what we do, so keeping them in our memories by such a simple action can actually make a whole difference to ourselves and to them. So don't forget, to take small actions, perhaps, to bring yourself a little smile, in your life.
Now, sometimes we rush through life, don't we? And we don't realize that little things like making somebody a cup of tea, making
Yeah.
somebody a sandwich, sitting down with somebody and just chatting. And these are the important memories. Going out
Yes.
for a fun night and having a great time.
Yes.
Bringing up children and watching the children grow. And many
Yeah.
people rush through life thinking
Mm,
that life is about something else.
yes.
Life is just about love. When the first time, when I was born, I had memories of the spirit world. And I had memories of discussions in the spirit world before I came. I used to call it the other place rather than the spirit world or heaven. I used to call it the other place when I was in the other place. And uh, so I had all sorts of memories and various things. And one of the funny stories I often tell is, but before I went into my mother's womb for the last time, I was very worried about would I love her. I loved her energy because, as you were talking about energy before, it's energy we feel, a spirit. So if I talk to my father and I say to him, what do you think of such and such? He'll say, well, I don't know, I can't see them, but I can feel their energy, and their energy is this or whatever. And before I was born, chatting to this man, he looked a bit like my family, and we chatted, and he was reassuring me. And then I needed a kidney transplant about 5 years ago, and suddenly he's back. I haven't seen him in all this time. Doesn't look a day older, and he goes. He wakes me up at night, and he goes, "Good evening," and he says, takes me to a hospital room, and he said, he showed me a family grieving, and he said, "There's your kidney." Uh, so I looked at him. I said, "You haven't aged a day. And what's your secret? Look at the state of me." And after all these years, and he laughed, and he said to me, "When you come home, life will just seem like the blink of an eye." And time doesn't exist. We're affected by entropy here in life, but in the spirit world, it stands still. Donna goes on to say, to ask a question, do you use obsidian for protection, and do you have an opening prayer before you do your mediumship and a prayer to close it down?
Yes, I do. Yes, I don't use necessarily obsidian, but it's one of the stones that I do use, and I always, first of all, before going into meditation, I sit in the power. And after that, I gather my spirits around, and I ask them I want them to know that I want to be of service. So I say, I am Catholic, so I've been brought up to pray quite a bit. So I do pray before, and when I finish, I thank Spirit for having guided me, and just I do a prayer before and after as well.
Yeah. I think it's.
Sorry, I just wanted to say one more thing. One of the crystals I use as a protection is called the chiastolite. It's I tend to use quite powerful crystals, and one of them is chiastolite.
Yeah.
It's like a round, flat crystal, brown one. There's got like a black. It comes like its own characteristics. It's got like a black cross on it. That's how you recognize it, and that's the one I prefer to go for.
So you'll have to come on another night and bring some crystals, and we'll have a chat about crystal healing and mediumship again. Now, Fiona comes on, but it's lovely as sometimes they remind us of good times we may have forgotten about. I had a message a while ago that said he was charging in on a horse laughing. I thought, I don't get that. Then I remembered we had fallen off a horse when we were young, and it was a joke between us when we remembered our childhood.
I see.
See, there we
It's
are.
beautiful. Yeah.
And Carol McDowell. Carol, unfortunately, lost her son a few years ago, and it's been very difficult for Carol. And I think of all the happy memories of my son with us as a family, heartbroken, lost him so young, but so grateful we had the great memories that love keeps us connected. And it's I've had the privilege of bringing through her son, telling her to stop remembering the bad times, and a lovely young man, lovely young man. So his mother must be a lovely woman, and he always, when I see her held with such care by spirit. So Carol, I think this must be Mark again, yeah. It comes when feeling down and alone, and when things go wrong, it seems to rear its ugly head again, but trying so hard to not these things ruin my life.
It comes with me.
I think, I mean, I would be talking to him about this life you're in is the life you have now. I'd be looking back at the beauty of the life that I had, but I'd also be looking at where I am now in life, and how much have I got to be grateful for. And so
Absolutely. I have this routine, Ben, that every day, at the end of the day, I draw a list of 5 things I'm grateful for the day.
Yeah.
And when I start going back, of months, and I go like, oh, I've forgotten I was grateful for this. Or a year I did an experiment even. Every time something good happened to me, I wrote it on a piece of paper and put it inside a bottle. At the end of or can or something, I can't remember now. At the end of the year, I opened the can and I started seeing all the beautiful things that have happened to me. Well, when I told people, oh, I had a beautiful year, they looked at me like, yeah, but you had an operation and you fell down the stairs. And, the list went on. I went, oh, I've forgotten about that. And because I opened the jar at the end of the year and all I could see was the good things that had happened to me, not the bad ones. So how important it is to concentrate, on the good things in our life. If you do a daily exercise, of appreciating the small, as you were saying, Ben, earlier on, appreciating the small things. My colleague came over and he offered me a cup of coffee, and he never does, I never thought he would or she would or whatever, and or today, the neighbor came up with a slice of cake, or she showed up with a little present for my son's birthday, and I didn't expect that. So, wow, like that was lovely. And to feel, when you connect then to the feel of joy, surprise, it's like bringing out of ourselves the little child. Because when we become adults, okay, and we are being challenged, by life, things, sad news and so on, the little child inside us gets a bit suppressed, and we don't know anymore how to enjoy the small things.
And one of the things, like today, I've had a busy day, but what I find is what have I learned? I think about the discussions I've had with people, and uh, you know, working as a medium when I was learning in the early days, and I came across all sorts of situations, violent relationships, um, alcohol problems, addiction
Mm,
problems, people that
mm,
take their own lives, and family were, I learned so much
mm.
through other people, um, just chatting to me and telling me about their lives. I feel it's such a privilege. I'm sure you must feel very similar.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I have had, people that there have been people that I have met through the past 10 years that have been successfully have been able to quit drinking. And and they were telling me of the fact that while they were drinking, for instance, they could see everything dark around them. They couldn't see any positive thing in their lives, and their relationships were going, were falling apart and all of that. But then when they went into their recovery path and their soul started being freed up, and they found out that the thing that helped them most was actually service and helping others.
Yeah,
And I feel that the beauty and the joy that we have as mediums, for instance, is exactly that. We don't, I mean, I talk for myself, but I'm pretty sure most of us are, like I want to make others happy, to be the bringer of joy and love and memories from the beloved that are in spirit,
yeah,
you see. So, and when we are left here with our problems, by being of service or joining a community, for instance, that can also be an answer if we're feeling down, because we don't have to cope with that anymore ourselves. We don't have to try and fix life on our own. We can rely on a community, whether be it in a church or anything else really that is a hobby or something of interest, you know, and just go out there and just help others, because when we help others, we also help ourselves. You see,
yeah,
it's like a mirror thing. And this is what I've learned also by listening to people with addictions, for instance.
yeah. Let's, because time is running out and we'll
Of
get you
course.
back. I've been drawn to Lemurian
I
quartz.
love Lemurian quartz. Oh, that's amazing. Very high vibrational energies.
And Donna,
The Lemurian quartz points are especially very powerful.
yeah, Donna says that's beautiful. And thank you for explaining. That was about the prayers. And
It's okay.
Eva Bursum, thanks for a lovely evening. And I have to re-listen to it again. Audrey DeCanson, sorry Ben, I came in really late. I thought we were talking about crystals. Well, we
We
have chatted.
touched on.
We have. Now, Carol says, yes, you remind me, Ben, how to allow myself to remember happy times instead of stuck thinking about the horrendous way he passed. I am really grateful and thank you with all my heart. Now, I wouldn't normally do mediumship, but your son just popped in when I read this, Carol. And he just wants you to know that the horrendous way he passed, his spirit had left his body. Very often, spirit take the spirit out. Um, so what he experienced was out. He was out of his body. So I don't know if that helps you, but he was actually had already his spirit had already left, and so there was no pain at all.
Yeah,
Uh,
I sensed that as well. I tuned in. I got exactly the same thing, that he didn't experience any pain. He was just, yeah. He just
Yeah.
was in the light and he was just wondering what had happened.
Yeah, he's
It
like,
was
look,
so quick.
I can see
Yes,
him.
yeah. That's what I'm getting. Yeah,
Like,
That's what
I'm
I'm
there.
getting.
I'm here.
What did just happen? Hmm.
So don't
Yes.
you worry. And somebody is saying they love. Let me just see. Somebody is saying I love road sports, and Fiona is saying beautiful. Thank you. Um, and Carol McDowell, thank you, Ben. God bless you and love you so much. Michael, and thank you, Daniela. It really helps. So you've had
Thank
two mediums say the same thing to you, Carol, and you keep that with you. It's a very precious thing to
you.
understand. You don't have to worry about your son at all. And he's a lovely young man. He's all gab these days to me. Thank you both for an interesting evening. I'm not usually home on a Wednesday evening, as I run Circle 3 Wednesdays at Monmouth. That's Mary Dixie. Well, Mary, thank you for joining us. And I always feel your energy, Mary, when you're on. Uh, you'll have to come chat to me some evening on here as well. And I think we've probably come to the end of our first evening chatting. So you won't be starting with us probably till about autumn time,
Mm.
but maybe we get you back in June for a chat.
Sure.
Um, to talk, we'll talk about crystals. Uh,
Crystals. Yeah.
Personally, I've done a crystal healing course, and the man said to me, "You'll know which crystals to work with." When
Yes.
and I did when I was doing the healing. Um, I don't use crystals much. I sometimes
Mm.
use them for people if I'm doing healing, to put them in
Mm.
their hands, etc. But
Mm.
um, we call ourselves nothing fancy, so we try not to be fancy anything we do. But I would love to learn more about crystals, and I'm
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
all of us would. So we'll have you back. Now, Sue Treadwell, um, lovely conversation, Ben. Thank you. Looking forward to hearing more another time. I'm meeting Sue for the first time on Sunday evening. She's coming to a service I'm doing at Brixham United Spiritualist Church.
Okay.
Carmen, so always thank you. It's been a great service, really inspirational, and lovely to meet you, Daniela. God bless
Thank
you.
you.
And God bless
Thank
you.
you, Carol.
And Dorothy Divine, I felt Spirit was preparing me for Joe's passing, as the last 2 weeks with him was like when we first met. Um, uh, Whenever Dorothy is on, her husband Joe, who's a very nice, a very lovely man, I'm always aware of his presence when Dorothy is around. So I get the impression, Dorothy, he's keeping an eye on you all the time. You're never out of his thoughts, or never out of his loving reach, and you should know that. Thank you both. This is both for a wonderful evening and insight and beautiful messages to us all, and it helps us all heal. Uh, well, thank you. That's I think it's Donna. Um, oh no, no. Oh, that's Mark A. That's Mark saying that. And this is Ben. You have the late Harry Edwards working with you.
Oh,
That's Elaine Thorpe saying that. And thank you, Elaine, for saying that. Um, Elaine is an amazing trance medium. And thank you, Elaine, for saying that. You must come and work with us sometime, Elaine. I'd love to see you work. Um, and we've got Donna M. Connor. Thank you for a wonderful evening, Ben and Daniela. Two beautiful souls.
thank you.
That's really sweet, isn't it? It's a lovely
Mm.
thing. And Samantha Jane, thank you both for an enjoyable evening. And Treadwell, it's my birth mother's surname. Uh, that's Elaine Thorpe. So Elaine Thorpe meets Sue Treadwell. Sue lives in Seaford in East Sussex. And Jan Langford. Lovely evening. Thank you, Jan. Jan is from Hereford.
Thank you.
Eva Burestam, who's watching, is from Sweden. Really
Oh,
enjoyed
okay.
about your. This is Jackie. Very interesting and uplifting. And Facebook user. Um, yes, it would
Okay.
be an honor to come on your show. Thank you. Well, Elaine, I will drop you a note. I did write to you before. I'll drop you a note, and it'd be wonderful to have you come on and chat and tell us about your experiences, and then maybe do an evening for us. That would be absolutely wonderful if you could do that. And I'll be in touch, Elaine. Thank you. This is Fiona. I love coming on Nothing Fancy. It gives me so much comfort. Everyone's lovely. It's like having a second family.
Yeah.
Fiona, if you knew us in the flesh, you'd hate us. It's well, I suppose we are what we are. God bless you both, and that's Mark, and love and light to you and everyone else. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Thank
The
you.
same back to you, our dear friend. The same back. And Sue Treadwell is saying good evening to Elaine, and we will arrange it, and I will get Lucy to sort it out with me. Okay, Elaine, will do. I will drop you a line in the next couple of days. And Dorothy Devine says a lovely evening. And thank you, Dorothy. And you and Joe had wonderful times. He shows me, every time you're on, he shows me such wonderful memories around you. And he was a lovely man. Fiona Rusin and Carl McDowell is saying. So we've met the brief, I think, Danielle.
Yes.
Have you enjoyed our chat this evening?
I really loved it. I was a bit tense, I must admit, but I really, really loved it, and I hope I made it justice. We just touched base on the crystals and on other things that I do, like readings and mediumship. So, hopefully on the next round we can talk a bit more in detail or in depth, if you like, about the crystals, and helps whoever is interested in knowing more about them. And
I think we have a wonderful church family, for they're from all over the world, and big following in Ireland and America, Australia and Europe,
wow.
and throughout the UK. Obviously, many of the people tonight are from Scotland and many other places. And so we try to, we try to give everybody a good welcome. But I know that people worry before they come on, what's it going to be like, etc. But one chat is not enough.
That's true.
We need lots more. Now, this is Mark. It's a wonderful. Sorry. Hold on a minute. This is Mark. It has always been, I feel, in a better place each time I speak with you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you.
You have such lovely energy and very calming, Ben. So it's just lovely talking to you every time.
Thank you. Thank you. I suppose when we serve in churches, or when we do private readings, or when we involve ourselves in other people's lives, we have a duty of care, don't we? A duty of care to actually walk gently across the world, finding everything that is God in everyone. And I'm not the person that actually said that statement. It was the man that created the Quakers who said that. Walk gently across the world and look for what is God in everyone. And I thought it was a nice way to explain our work, because We're looking for that divine spark in everybody we see.
Yes.
Debbie White is saying she's looking forward to hearing about the crystals. So Debbie will keep you informed on that. Carol McDowell that would be great. And a Facebook user, Helene thought, when this lady smiles, her whole face lights up. And it does. I've noticed that as the interview has gone on, your face is lit up and
yeah, I'm a bit more relaxed now.
so there. And Mark Hay is saying thank you both. And just to Jess Wilson, hello Jess, and welcome this evening. So you think you like us then? I hope.
I think so. I would love being around, definitely.
And I really look forward to working with Elaine. I love to work with very, very powerful people. I really do, and very, very, very close connection with Spirit. Look forward to meeting you again, Daniela. That's Mark, and Carol McDowell. You were amazing, Daniela. Thank you.
Thank you.
See, there you are. You've got fans already. Now, you do private readings, Daniela, and you do healing and all the rest. If people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
So basically, I've got my own website or an email address. So my website is.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you send me or you can do a post onto the Nothing Fancy Spiritualist Church.
Okay. Yeah.
Put all your details on there, and then people can get in touch with you.
Can get in touch. Yeah, sure. That's easy.
I'll authorize it. I have the power of allowing you on or off. We do keep the site very clear of advertising, and because we are
of course. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
So do put on your details there so people can say. So I've really enjoyed it, Daniela. It's been lovely.
Thank you. Yeah, I've enjoyed it too, actually. It was such a pleasure to be here, to talk to you, to see that the people have been coming on to ask questions, and I hope I made justice, and definitely I look forward, to have another chat with the crystals, and I really truly enjoyed being being here. Thank you for having me.
It's been wonderful. I presume that's Mark going to leave now, Ben, popping over to see his granddaughter. His granddaughter has not been very well. So we are praying for her tomorrow night in our healing service. So give her our love. And Fiona says, take care all. So that's it. Daniela, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
It's been a real privilege to spend the last hour and a quarter.
and a half.
There we are.
No, not a quarter. No, honestly, it's just, I didn't even realize where the time has gone, actually, because it was lovely to chat.
And Elaine says to you, speak soon, and night, kind lady. And
thank you.
Debbie White, who's starting her training journey in a couple of weeks' time. So good night, Debbie. And this is, I will give you her both your lives. I will give her both your lives. That's Mark. And what he means is he will give Isla both of our love. Please do, Mark, because we don't just pray for people. We do worry a little bit that they're going to be okay.
Of course, yeah.
And Carol McDowell says good night and God bless. Well, I'm just going to take you off screen for a minute, Danielle, and I'm going to come back to you very shortly. So there we are. That was In Conversation this evening with Daniela. And what a wonderful lady. And we will have her back soon and to talk about crystals. And then she will start to become one of our regular people from the autumn onwards. Tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock, we've got Nigel Wharton, who's hosting for the first time, and I'm going to be doing a meditation called Cleaning the Aura. It's a healing meditation to actually help you and your families and the people we pray for and love, to help them. And so I hope you'll join me tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock. On Saturday evening at 7:30, we have an intimate evening of mediumship on Zoom, and this will be myself and the wonderful Susan Broadwood-Hughes from Dublin, Susan who heads up our training academy. And then next Sunday, my great friend, the Reverend Kath Upton, is back to take the Sunday service. And then on Sunday evening, I have the privilege of going to Brixham United Spiritualist Church, and Kath will host for me on Sunday evening. And I know that it gets very busy when I'm in that church. So if you are going to go early, so you get a seat. It tends to get very busy when I'm over there. So thank you all for watching with us tonight. Good night and God bless to you all and to your families.